Why is the Elite 250 back on the stage? I thought we were done with that scooter. It's time for some Helix. Get down. It's no longer your turn. Well, hello again and welcome back to Ruby the Elite. It's been a long time since I've said that. We're back in my garage. Yes, I still have scooters. Yes, I still do love them. Why have I been away for so long? Well, before we get into that, if you're new to my channel, it's all about Honda scooters and a little dabbling in some Yamahas. As you can see, I have a Helix here, 99, a 85 Elite 250. Over here I have my 1984 Elite 125. Yes, it's an Elite 125, not a 150. Two Elite 50s, one an S and one regular from 87. All of my scooters are still in the garage. If you're new to my channel, that's basically what I do. Work on these bikes. Look at them, love them, show you new things if I find them, accessories, whatever. I like anything to do with Honda scooters from the 1980s. I wish I had a garage full of every model. I don't, but I've had over 18. I don't know, I've had quite a few. And you can see how many I have here. I also have an Elite 50E, a pink one, that's at another house. So lots of scooters, lots of love. With that said, where have I been? I think that's a valid question for any of my followers. There are some of you guys out there that love the channel. I know who you are. We've chatted back and forth. I love you guys too. It's a very sad situation. No, I'm just kidding. It was a sad situation. Why did I stop making videos about a year ago? And there's a valid reason. And it's sitting right here. It's sitting right here. This Elite 250 that creeped back up onto my stage, as I call it. Why is it back on there? Well, let's go back to the end of last year. I think it was around middle of December. I sold the bike. I sold it to a really nice guy, older gentleman, and his grandson came, picked it up, loved it. He drove it to work for about a week. Boom, it just died. He says, can I bring the bike back over? It's having problems. I put about 50 miles on it, driving it back and forth to work. All of a sudden, it doesn't want to run. I couldn't believe it. I said, absolutely, bring the bike over. I felt bad, I put my heart and soul into these things, and if it's not running right, especially only after a week, please bring it back. Now, if you would have had the bike for 3-4 months and something happened, that's different. Put on hundreds of miles and something changed. I can't guarantee a 1985 bike isn't going to have some kind of problem that deep into it. But this was within a week. So he brought the bike over, took the panels off of it right away. I knew that the carburetor I put in it failed. It was leaking gas, and it would ride for about, 5 or 6 miles, and then boom, it would slowly just shut down. Took the carb apart. The float bowl wasn't working at all. And that's what happens, folks. When you buy some of these Chinese carbs, it's hit or miss. You might have a few that work great. Like I have one in each one of the Elite 50s, and they've worked fine. They haven't let me down. The Elite 50E, I've got one in that bike. Hasn't let me down either. The pink bike. This one, I put it in. I bought the carb from a seller I had bought from before, and the float bowl would not work. Didn't work right, and it leaked. So I went and I bought another carb from another seller, put it in the bike. He took it home, and it failed again. And this was after, he had rode it for less than a day, and I'm like, oh my God. He's like, you know what? I really don't want the bike. I don't want the problems. I don't want the headache. He was very nice about it. His grandson was very nice about it. Of course, I said, yes, I'll give you your money back, minus the money that it's going to cost to put the title back in my name, because he had done that. He put the title in his name right away. And, I had to take it and move it back into mine. So besides that money, I took the bike back. I parked it over there in the corner. I was disgusted. I was hard on myself. I didn't want to work on anything. Didn't even want to look in the garage. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I need a break. Maybe I just need a break. I work on these bikes because it's an enjoyment. It's a hobby. It's not a job. These are not something that I have to bring in for income, because that's not at all what my channel's about or what I'm about. I like the scooters. That's why you see so many in my garage. I can't ride them all at the same time, but I've got tons of them. In here, I've got a total of 6 bikes plus another one, 7. Not counting the other 3 or 4 that I've owned in the last year that I sold. Why did I just all of a sudden stop? Like I said, I needed a break. So you know what? At the end of last winter into spring of this year, I just said, you know what? I'm just going to watch YouTube videos, watch other guys, see what I can learn, do some research, and then just give these bikes a little bit of a break. That was fine all the way up into, and keep in mind, I hadn't even put this bike on after he brought it back. I didn't even look at what the problem was. I parked it over there and said, you know what? I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you when I'm in better spirits. Again, I was hard on myself, folks. I'm human, and I just didn't want to deal with it for a while. I said, forget it. Let's just park the bikes. Left it over there. Summertime hits in Texas. And if you all live in Texas or monitor what our summer was or is every year, it's hot. But this year it was brutal. It was just brutal. Every single day, 100, 105, 100, 100, 100, 100, 105, 110. You try working in that kind of temperature and you're back in the house real quick. The air conditioner never shut off. If you look over in the corner, I'll show you what I bought. I ended up buying an air conditioner for the garage. I had a real good deal on it. I couldn't pass it up. I bought an air conditioner. I was going to put some insulation because there isn't any in that outside wall or above me in the ceiling. So I was going to put some insulation in, put some insulated panels on the door, have that go through my attic and have it cool in here. Well, I got the air conditioner bought and then I got hurt, which I'm not going to get into. So I just ended up putting that on hold. So I got a brand new air conditioner over there. It will be used next summer, but the rest of my summer ended up just being hot, heat, brutal. So I said, let's just come back in here when we can. I have one of those fans that blow cool mist on you, but they make a mess. The whole ground's all wet. In order for it to stay cool, it just wasn't worth it. That's how we come to right now. Actually, a few weeks ago, I put the Elite back on the lift, and then only a few days ago, I actually took it apart. I first tried to start it. It wouldn't start. Right after I tried to start it, I noticed more gas leaking. I'm like, okay, so I know I got a problem in that area again. What it was, though, all it was, it just blows my mind. It was a issue with one of the fuel lines was sliced, or the fuel line was sliced. A fuel line I bought off of eBay that I thought I could rely on, brand spanking new, and the fuel line cracked. I couldn't believe it. That's all it was. So I went out and I bought some really heavy duty fuel line, put it on. There's nothing wrong with the bike. I rode it around for another 25 miles. It runs perfect. That's all it was. If I would have done that, the guy who bought the bike, he didn't want a deal anymore. And I knew that sale was over. But, if you're watching, I know I gave him, he knows who I am and he knows what channel I'm on. The bike is running beautifully. Sorry that I put a failed part in twice, but Sometimes things happen. I'm not perfect, never said I was, but putting that new fuel line in, that's all it needed. The bike runs beautiful. So why is it still on the stage? Well, I just have to move it off. The stage is now set for the Helix. I'm looking so forward to it. Because now we're going back into scooters again, folks. I didn't say that, but yes, that bike is fixed. Even if it wasn't, it was time for me to go back into working on these and having some fun again. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to do some maintenance videos on the Helix. I'm going to change up a few things on it. And we're going to have some fun going over that bike. I know a lot of you have been waiting. Where are the Helix videos? You know, there isn't a whole lot of Helix content. There's really not a lot of content on a lot of these bikes that's actually worthwhile watching. I started flipping through some channels. I don't like to be hard on other people's channels, but there's a couple that are just plain awful that instead of showing you what part you should really put on a bike, they'll try to create a part. One guy's like making gaskets. It's like, go and buy the parts that you're supposed to put on the bike. They're not, especially on a Helix where you can still buy them. So that's one guy's channel. I mean, I can't even watch it, some of the stuff he does. But there isn't too many other channels that show maintenance, so I try to show that. It's not what my channel is about. I call it taping. I record as I'm doing things, and if you enjoy them, that's great. If not, then don't watch my channel. I mean, I don't know what to say as far as if you like my content or not. You might be new to my channel today and seeing my garage for the first time since it's a brand new video. I again will always tell you I don't know everything about these. I learn. A lot of the stuff I learn as I go, but I learn from the maintenance manual. I don't learn from taking it apart without knowing what I'm doing. I try to follow the directions of my service manual to a T, using what they say to use to a T, and having fun with the end result. This was the first time I ever had an issue with any of the bikes I've ever worked on that have came back. I've sold so many, never had a problem. I don't know why this one all of a sudden did. Well, I do know. I mean, when you put in cheap parts, you get basically what you paid for. You know, they weren't exactly the greatest stuff. It was even Chinese fuel cable, but there was a lot of people who had positive things to say about it. So I tried it. It wasn't inexpensive. I try to cut down on some things that, you know, because again, these bikes, when you start putting all the parts in, it adds up. It adds up to a lot of money. I put this up for sale for $2,300 and everybody's like, how do you put it up for sale for that much? I'm actually at a loss at $2,300. That's not me making any money. You know, when I bought the bike for $1,500. And then everything that I've done to the bike, windshield, brakes, tires, new front panel. I mean, go into my video if you want. I mean, the shocks are new. Everything's been redone on the bike, cleaned up, and all fluids replaced. Everything maintenance done wise, it's all been done. What you usually find for $1,500 is like what I bought. A bike that sat in a corner, neglected, abused. And now it's your problem. And the funny thing is the guys who were telling me when I put it up for sale, one guy said, $750, that's all that bike's worth. That's what Kelley Blue Book says. And that's when I laugh at people. If you try to use Kelley Blue Book to sell a 40-year-old scooter or believe what you're reading, they are not a source at all. This isn't like buying a 2020 Corolla, folks. This is where there's a bunch of them and you know the value and everything with the mileage. You can't use Kelley Blue Book for this type of scooter because it's so old. That's why they no longer, if you look in their current books, they don't rate anything like this anymore because they finally got a clue. At one point, one from a few years ago was putting sprees at more worth than this. And it's like, are you crazy? You have no idea what you're talking about. Why are you putting this crap out there? And there's another source, I can't remember off the top of my head, that also puts values, and they don't know what the hell they're talking about either. These are worth somebody's what they're willing to pay. And that's the end of it. Because if you try, give you an example. There's a guy who's selling, a couple guys right today. If you look, they're selling some gyros. And one of them is like an 86 and one of them is like an 84. And the 84's got only like 50 miles on it. And the 86 has got like 1,500. The one guy's trying to get $3,700 for a gyro. And he says it's a rare bike. Well, of course it's rare because nobody bought it. Back in 1987, when I bought my first Elite, they were still in the showroom. I remember asking the guy, do you sell them? He's like, no, we've got them in the back in the box. We can't get rid of them. Nobody wanted them. Nobody wants the bike. That's why it's rare. That doesn't make it valuable today. I guess you could try that, and somebody stupid enough will pay $3,700 for a gyro. I sure as hell wouldn't. I don't find that. I mean, it might be worth $2,000 to me, just because this is not like. I mean, give you for an example. Nobody wants a 1958 Etzel, right? They didn't sell a lot of them because nobody wanted it. That doesn't make it valuable today. It means nobody wanted it back then. So why does that make it valuable today? Because nobody has one? Well, yes, nobody has one. But what people, he's like, they put astronomical prices on these bikes. And I'm like, well, this isn't a 1968 CT70 or a Motocampo, which are very desirable. That's why those prices skyrocketed. They're desirable. People had them as childhood bikes as far as a CT70, and the Motocampo was never here at all. And it was a novelty added to the back of a car. So those are astronomically going up. That doesn't mean a gyro does. At least in my head, it doesn't. The most I'd pay for one would be $2,000. But he wants $3,700 and giving me all these reasons why they're rare. Well, at the end of the day, folks, you pay what you want. I thought about doing some videos just after I heard the guy tell me $750 for this. There's no way I would sell that for $750. It's just ridiculous. So I know I've jumped around and pivoted. I haven't talked to y'all in a long time. I'm just giving some of my insight. Maybe I need to do some videos on what I think they're worth. I guess maybe my 30 years experience will tell you what I think they're worth. I don't think that is worth $3,700, and I don't think it's worth $750 either. So maybe I'll go through all the bikes since I've owned them all. I've owned Sprees. I've owned all the Elites. The only thing I never owned was gyro, and I didn't own any of the aero bikes except for the 50. I don't own an 80, and I didn't own a 125. I've had the chance to own those, but I chose not to just because they're very hard to find parts for. So maybe I do some kind of videos like that in the future. Maybe those are coming as I rattle on here. I'm just excited to make a video today. And I know I'm getting into the weeds, but that's why it's sitting there. What we're going to do moving forward, you'll have another video within the next week to 2 weeks, and it'll be the start of our Helix. Looking so forward to it. And you're going to go back over there, winterized, and if I sell you in the spring, great. If I don't, so be it. I'll keep the bike. But I'm not going to sell it for what some of these idiots think that I should sell it for. Well, you go find your piece of junk that's been sitting in the corner and you pay your $1,500. That ain't going to be for me. But again, Ruby the Elite, if you're new to my channel, there she is. Hasn't gone anywhere. She needs to be cleaned up. She needs all the maintenance done to her. Haven't done that yet. I still have those Elite 50s over there. One of them I'm still working on. Again, we'll put that onto the stage, but she's got to go next. We got to get the Helix onto the stage, and even looking, you can see she's only got 522 miles. The bike's like brand new. So we got work to do on her just to get her up running again. And I'll get into what I did start on this, which it was a little bit, not too much. I didn't want to get too far ahead because I wanted to share those videos with you. But coming soon, Morphus, the Helix here, along with the Elite. Those videos coming. Those are what's next. So, again, happy to be back. If you got any questions for me, let me know. New to my channel, you're welcome. Any kind of feedback, good or bad, I'm always you know what? I'm here. I listen to all of it. Some I agree with, some I don't, but I love to hear it all. But that's it, folks, for today. I will see you soon.